Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the header and the footer of this one-page website. So I've already cloned the site. Saw how I did that. I showed you all the different settings that I put in place to make the site responsive right off the bat. So for the H1 tags, the headers, and the body text, and also the spacing, the padding up and down. So now we're going to go in and jump in, and I'm going to build the header and the footer, and I'll show you how that gets done here. So again, so this is the page we're building right here. So, okay, so I was thinking about it for a second. Okay, so here it is. So this is our header. Let me move this out of the way. And this is the footer down here. So the footer is quite large, but makes no difference. So let's start off with the header. So let's go in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into Oxygen templates. And so I already have a main template set up. So now this main template is going to appear on every single page on the site unless I assign it otherwise. Unless I, because you can go into individual pages and say, don't use this header, don't use, things like that. And I can show you how that gets done. So if we go in here, click edit. Right now, what it is, it's set up to be a catch-all. Okay, so that means every other page. So let's just go into the Oxygen editor. And I'm going to try to work as fast as I can, but at the same time, I want to be able to explain some of the things that I'm doing so you can see, they're just the processes. So it's going to take a little bit longer than if I was just working, on a job on my own here. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a preview of the home page. And this was from the previous video. These are the headers, the body text, and all of these things. So you can't click on this. You can't edit any of this stuff right here. It's just the template. All right, so what we got to do is come in here. So you see I have the inner content, and that's what's displaying this right here. And I can choose any page I want. Okay, so let's go. So, all right, so to get started, I need to add a section, and this will be my footer. And then I will add another section, and this would be the header. So we got to get the header above the inner content, and now that's up there. All right, so now I'm also going to want to add a second section for the header, and I'll just do that like that. So this will be, let's see, what are we going to call this? So we have two sections here. So you have this gray section that has the sign in, and then this international, to change the language on this site. So that's what's there. So we'll just call that top bar. So let's call this top bar. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Just whatever makes sense. All right. So in this one, we're going to call this menu header, just so to keep that clear. Now these are quite large because we got the padding in there that's been set up on the global settings, and we'll go in there and we'll fix that. So right off the bat, let's give this one background color. So what I'm going to do is I have a set of utility classes set up in here, and so selectors and core. So all of these are classes. I mean, there's got to be, a couple hundred in here, maybe 300 different classes that are right off the bat set up. And I use these for most every element that I'm using. So I just drop it in there, and I know it's going to be consistent across the site. But I don't always get everything I need, so I create my own. And right now I have a couple in here that I set up, and these are the selectors that I set up. And these are brought in from the starter site, so not all of them are going to be relevant. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add as I go. So for example, I want to be able to control the background colors of an element site wide, and so I'm not going to just grab this section and add a color to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a class, and I will label the class as background light gray. Now this way, as I'm working across the whole site, if I'm going to use that same color again, all I got to do is add the class. Now if I want to change that color, all I got to do is go into the class, go into the selector. So you can come into these selectors right here. So let's see, let's grab one here for a second. Which one can I do? Okay, so D radius small. So if I select this, you'll see over here it activates this panel over here, and I can go in here and I can adjust it. And every item that has this class, D radius small, applied to it, will update. I don't need to go through the site. I don't need to go say, okay, well, did I put that over here? Did I put that over there? No, I don't have to think about that at all. Keeps the site consistent, and it allows me to make updates and changes quickly. And that'll often happen with colors. You get a client, they'll come in and say, use our green, use our blue. Oh, you know what? We changed our green, we changed our blue, go in and change it. So all I have to do is change it once and it updates everything on the site. So that's what that is. So that's all to say, what I want to do is on this right here, since I don't have a selector set up for background color for this specific site, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create one on the fly. So I'll do D. And I always put a letter in the beginning, and usually I keep it consistent with the site. But since this site is called Circuit, and I have these core selectors here, these all begin with C. I don't want to keep it with a C. So I am going to give it a D. All right, so let's go in here and get back to this, back to my top bar over here. Okay, so D, we're going to do BG for background, and we're going to do light. Call it light. Well, we'll give it a gray, light gray. Okay, so D, background, light. Let's spell it correctly in there. LIGHT, gray. Add the class. Now, I'm going to go in here to the background color, and we'll give it, that's white. I thought I had a light gray. I have that light gray. It's a little darker than I would like. Let's do this. There we go, light gray. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm going to get off this class right away. So I don't make any other adjustments in that class, because that class is only going to be for my background color. All right. So now I can go in here. Now I'm back in the ID, and I can even lock the classes so that I can't select these classes. I can't make any changes, and that's a really big help, because if you start making unwanted adjustments to a class, or wanted adjustments just not in that class, it's going to affect the whole site. Luckily, there's a way to reset classes back to their default, and I've had to use that feature more than a few times. So, okay, so here we are. So we're in our top bar. So we're going to add just this text over here, these links. Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's get rid of this padding first of all on the top and the bottom. So we're going to come up to size and spacing. Now this is a global setting right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight it, give it a 0, and I'm going to switch it over to pixels and give this a 0. Switch this over to pixels again. All right, so now we need to get in here a couple of divs. So we're going to need a div for the sign in. We're going to need a div for this divider, and then we're going to need another div for this icon and this text over here. So let's just drop those divs in right away. So we're going to first put in this div. Now we're going to come back to the top bar over here, because I want it to be over onto the left-hand side, and it's going to be horizontal, and we are going to put it on the right. So now it's over here. So now in this div, I am going to add another div, and I'm going to try to label these things as I go. And in fact, I'm going to label them as I go, because once you start to get into the thick of a site and starting to build up, you don't want to start having to guess what these divs are. I certainly don't. And if I ever pass this off to another developer that's going to be working on the site, I want to make it as easy as possible to make adjustments going forward. So let's call this one, let's see, what do we got here? Let's call this one sign in div. Sign in. Okay, now we're going to duplicate this div, and we're going to call this next one the divider. Let's get rid of all that other stuff, don't need it. And we're going to duplicate this one again, and we're going to call this language. Okay, now let's get these to be horizontal. There we go. Now this divider div, it's going to seem a little strange on this back end here, on the editing end, because you're not going to see the edits as you do it here. It will show up on the front end, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so what I want to do is I want that to have a light or a darker gray background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just style the div itself. So we're going to come over here, We're going to give it a background of this dark gray like that. And what we're going to do is then come back to size and spacing, a width of 2 pixels, and we're going to give it a height of, let's try 20. We can always go back in and adjust this as we need to. So save it. So now you see nothing happened, and you're not going to see it, but you will see it on the front end. Let's move forward a little bit and get this other stuff done first. So now we got sign in. So in here, we're going to put a text block. Now, I don't like to type, so I'm going to see if I can copy this text, and I can't copy that text, so I guess I got to type here. Let's just type it. Okay, sign in. That's why I don't like to type. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's do this now. Let's get all of this centered in the middle. Okay, so we got that. Now we're going to go into our, okay, so now for this one right here, we need to create a little space here between the sign in and this divider. So what I'm going to do is come over here. I'm going to my sign in div, and I'm going to use a class that I already have set up, margin, and we got margin right large. Okay, probably could even get away with large margin medium. So let's try margin medium, margin right medium. There we go. Now divider, we're going to put the same margin on there, margin right medium. Okay, so now we've created that space in between these elements here. Okay, so now let's get in here, and in here we're going to need a text block, and we're going to need an icon. So let's get the icon in there first, because that comes first, and I think this we're going to find it in here, the icon that we need. We need that see, it's like a little globe. It's white. It's a little hard to see, but let's see. We got a globe in here somewhere. Let's see. It should be coming up. Nope, it's not in here. It's probably in this one then. Let's check it out here. No, you know what? I'm certain it's in here. So let's try again. Sometimes you just scroll past these. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, so there we go. Got that. That's a little big. So let's get that down to 35. And it's going to be white. We'll make that's light gray. There's white. Okay. And now in here, we're also going to now need to put in a text div in there. And now, so they're stacked on top. So I can come back up to this div here, give it a horizontal alignment, and we are going to align that in the middle there too. And what does that say? That says EN. Okay, so let's grab this, and it's all cap, EN. Okay, and how much space do we have here? They're pretty tight on each other, and it's actually quite a bit smaller. So let me make this icon even smaller. That's what they got. That's what they want. That's what they get. So here we go. Let's put a margin to the right on this one. But we're going to do this one margin right extra small, because that's going to be good enough. All right, so let's see what this looks like on the front end now. And there we go. It looks all right. I mean, there's a little too much spacing there, I think, and I can get in there and I can adjust that if we need to. But for our purposes right now, I'm just going to leave that as it is. And you see that you see how that divider looks. Okay. Now, one thing I am going to do is I am going to go in there and I'm going to give it a little space top and bottom, because I think obviously that's a little too tight right there. So let's give this gray bar some height. So I'm going to do that, and let's go into our top bar, and we're going to do our padding. Let's see, padding top medium, padding top large. I want padding top small. Let's do this. Padding top extra small. That's going to be good enough. And do I have a padding bottom extra small? Padding bottom extra small. And there you go. Done. And now you know it's going to be consistent throughout the site. And I like doing it this way because, let's see, did I get the padding in there right? Oh, I put margin bottom extra small. I don't want that. I want padding bottom. Okay, so padding bottom, padding, that's margin. Let's see, padding. Let's get padding bottom. Padding bottom extra small. There we go. Better. Okay, now, using these classes is just, it's magical because you never have to think about what was I doing the padding on the other thing? Was I doing it 20 pixels? Was I doing it 5 pixels? All the guesswork is out, speeds up the process, as well as keeping everything super consistent across the board. All right, so look at that. We're done with our top bar. Done. All right, now let's go into our menu. Now, our menu consists of 3 divs. We got our div here for the logo, div in the middle for our menu, and then the div here on the right for this shop link. Okay, so right off the bat, let's get the div in there. Let's give this one a width. Well, you know what? Let's just leave it. So we're going to just duplicate it and duplicate it. Then we're going to come back up here. We're going to give this a horizontal layout, and we're going to do space between like this. So now I got my div for my logo, div for my menu items in the middle, and I have my div for my shop link all the way over there. And again, let's get in here and let's get rid of this spacing on the top and the bottom. Let's give it 0. I don't have to go to pixels, but I don't know why. I just feel like I should, so I do. All right, so now we got that. So let's get in here and let's get an image icon, an image widget in there. And we're going to go and grab our logo, which is this. Our logo, in this case, is a SVG. And so, which means you have to assign a width to it, okay, or a height. But let's, in this case, let's do width. Let's do 100, and there we go. Let's go back up here to our menu and let's get this centered. Okay, logo's taken care of. Middle, let's go and get ourselves a menu. We're going to do the Pro menu, and we're going to choose the main menu. And there it is. All right, it's just the 3 items in there. So now let's go ahead and get this thing styled up. I'm not going to worry about the toggle right now. I think it'll be fine, whatever it does. So let's do, all right, so let's get the correct size and weight of these fonts. So I use this what the font and just hover over it. And it tells me that we got font weight 500, size 15 pixels, and should say the color, yeah, color right there, black, okay? No guesswork. Okay, so 15 pixels, font color, black, and font weight. It says 500, but you know what? 500, I think it looks better this way, so I'm doing it this way, making the decision to go for that. So spacing. Now for margin, left and right, we're going to use rems, and we'll do 10 and 10. So effectively that gives us 20 pixels of space, and that seems about right. Okay, now let's see what's next. Let's get that underline, hover the underline. So let's go hover border bottom. We'll do 2 and just leave it at that. Save that. Let's see what we look like on the front end. And there we go. Okay, we got our underlines. Obviously, we're a little tight here, so let's get that taken care of. So there's a little bit more space here. So let's go with padding top and bottom on this in our menu header. And let's get a padding class put in here. Padding. Let's do padding top. Padding top medium. Let's do padding top small. I want to do padding top small. Padding top small, and we'll do padding bottom, padding bottom small. Okay, let's see what that looks like. There we go. Good enough. All right, I want to make a change here in my settings. And is it settings? No. Yes, it is settings. Let's go settings, editor settings, class suggesting limit. I want to up this up to 20. And what that's going to do is that when I type in padding here, for example, now look how many more selectors I see. I see 20. Okay, so I wanted to do that. So that's just to improve my workflow here. Okay, so we got that. Now we need to add this over here, the shop. Okay, so I created an item, a menu item for that. And the reason why I did that And I can actually just take this and duplicate it, slide it over into this div. Let's get into that div. Come on. Sometimes moving things around from divs to divs is a little tricky in Oxygen. And, oh, yep, I missed it. There you go. All right, so let's see how we're going to get this in here. Okay, so I want to get this in this div. Sometimes it's easier to just do it this way. There we go. So now it's in that div. Let's go, and we want shop. And that's it. I don't have to style it. It's already taken the styles off the other thing, so we're done. Okay, so that's it. Our header is done. See? Just like that, super fast, super easy. All right, so now we're ready for the footer. Let's get down here and check out our footer. Our footer is going to be a little more complicated, but that's okay. Still going to be pretty easy to do. And let's go. So let's just check out what we got here. So we're going to have one big section. And I guess I can do this in two sections if I want to keep this separate. Don't have to, but I think I will, just because it'll be a little bit easier to fix the responsive nature, the responsive display. So I'm going to do two sections for this, and in the top section, I will have two divs, and in the left-hand div, I will have three more divs for each one of those menu items. It'll make it a lot easier for me to control the placing, and also to fix it when we're going through the different screen sizes. So let's get that done. All right, so we can close this up. That's done. And so we'll call this footer, and then we're going to add another section below it, and we're going to call it copyright, because that's the copyright information. Okay, so that's done. Just like that. Now we're going to give these, we can put that background color in here now. Okay, so let's go D, BG, BG light gray. So that's it for there. And we'll do the same thing here. And I never have to think about it. Is it the same colors I chose for the other section? Because I know it is. All right. Since the class is locked, it just goes right back to the ID. All right. So now let's get this out of the way real quick, the copyright. So let's get rid of the padding top and bottom. Okay, and move that over to pixels. All right, so now in here, I'm going to need two divs. One div. Now let's duplicate that div. Let's come up here. We're going to give it a horizontal layout, and we're going to do space between. So it's going to go all the way to the left. The first div will go all the way to the left. The second div goes all the way to the right, and they're out of the way. All right, so now for this first one right here, this has this copyright information in here. Now, I want to do it so that you don't need to come in here every January 1st and up the year. There's a way to do that dynamically with a little bit of PHP, and I'll show you how that works here. So in this div, this is going to be my copyright. Okay, now I'm going to put in here a code block that comes with Oxygen. So I got my code block in there. Now the code, I don't need to remember it off the top of my head. I have it saved in here. So I use this thing called Workflowy, and I just throw notes and stuff like that in here. So as I create code, or as I accumulate different code functions, I keep them in here. So I don't have to think about it. Don't have to go searching for it again. I just got to come in here and copy and paste. So this is what's going to work for that. So we copy all of this and come into the PHP, do a select all, drop that in there. Now I want to update this because I don't want it to have my website on there. What I want it to have is this stuff in here. So what I do is just copy all of copy all of this up into CryCut. And from here all the way to here, drop that in there, hit apply code, collapse the editor, and there it is. Now on January 1st, 2022, this will update to 2022. That's done. Let's see what the size was on that. Let's go back to what the font, and that is 15 point, and it's this color here. Should be easy enough to remember. Let's go back over here. Let's so we can just style this just like any other element. So font size is 15. And the color is, let's get out of here. 1111111. It's got to make sure there's six numbers in there. All right, so that's that. And I could save this. I can make this a global color, but I'm not going to do that right now for this. Just going to leave that as it is. Now for the next side over here is going to be the address. Whoops. Oh, I'm still in what the font. Okay, so the same size, different color, 82, 82, 82. So that'll be an easy number for me to remember because I grew up on 82nd Street in New York City. So let's copy this. Let's bring it over here. Get a text element in there and paste that in there. We'll get this down to 15. Text color is, well, I don't mean to do that. I want to go in here. 82, 82, 82. And we are set. We are done. And that's it. That part of the footer is done. Let's see what it looks like on this end. Okay, we're done. You know what? I want to give it some padding. So let's get back in there and do some padding. Okay, so on our copyright, we're going to do top, padding, top, extra small. Let's do padding, top, small. And we're going to do padding, bottom. Do it this way. Okay, so bottom, small. So that gives it a little bit of room. It's not showing up for some reason. Let's do this. Did I get my padding? I did padding margin. Okay, don't want that. So let's get padding bottom. We got padding bottom small. Okay, we are set. Let's do this. And there it is. Okay, so that part of the footer is done. And let's see, how far have we gone in this video so far? 27 minutes. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see if we can get the rest of this thing done in about 10 minutes. Or it might take a little longer, but I'll do my best. Okay, so let's go back up here now to the footer, the main footer. And we're going to put a div. And we're going to duplicate that div. We're going to come back up to footer. We're going to make it horizontal so that they sit side by side. And each one of these divs, we're going to give a width of 50%. Now, that might change, but it just gives me some room to work with. So now in this div, I need 1, 2, 3 divs. Okay, so let's get 1 and just duplicate it, 2 and 3. And I am going to, I'm going to keep it horizontal. So here we go. So I'm going to call this div, I want to name this div here, menus. And over here, I'm going to call this one social because in this side is where they have the social information. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so let's go back up to menus. I'm going to make this horizontal. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do layout and I'm going to have it wrap. That's not going to do anything just yet, but it will once I start giving these divs some size. So this first div, let's give it this name right here. I like to name all my divs all the time, no matter what, because I will forget. I will just not know what it is. And that takes time. I don't want to take any time. You know, the whole idea here is about shaving time in every way possible. So, you know, if I got to spend time trying to figure out what a div is, that's taking time. I don't want to take time. I remember back in my days of climbing, and it was about always shaving weight. And, you know, you get to the point where it's like if you had an extra webbing or, you know, hanging off your backpack, well, cut the webbing. I mean, what are you saving? But whatever, you know, it's an accumulation. Another example was when I was a carpenter building walls, and it's like, well, what's a quarter inch? Well, a quarter inch in a foot is not that big a deal. But if you're doing a 10-foot wall, and if you're losing a quarter inch or gaining a quarter inch on every cut by the end of it. So anyway, so that's the philosophy there. That's the thought there. So let's give this a width of 50%. Give this second one a width also of 50%. And now you see this is where the wrap comes in. So now this one drops to the bottom here, and that's a result of the wrap. So let's give that also a width of 50%. Let's come back up here, and we're going to push this to the right. So all of my divs are now, whoops, what happened there? Let's go back. Okay, so now all my divs are on the right. All right, so first one here, we got to get a heading and then a menu. So let's first get our heading in there. And that heading is going to be about. Okay. Put that in there. And let's get, okay, so let's get the styling for this. And we got 15 pixels, and it's this gray. But I got that in the global color, so I don't have to worry about that. So all I know is that it's 15 pixels and a font weight of 500. All right. So let's give it a color, and we're going to call it. I thought I came up with a selector for this already. So let's check out my selectors over here, and it'll probably be down here at the bottom somewhere. Let's see. Footer. Okay, here we go. Footer section head. Okay, so that's what I'm calling it. So I don't have to worry about styling it because I've already got it done. So footer, the footer section head. And the great thing about when you're searching for these classes, you don't have to know the full name. You just got to put, like you see in that case, all I started doing was to type in footer, and it brought up everything that had the word footer in it. And so there you go. So now it's done. So let's see. So I got that there. And okay, so let's unlock this class for a second because I want to get in there and see something here. So the text color needs to be adjusted. There we go. And 15 font weight, 600. The 500, for whatever reason, the 500 here. Where was I? Oh wait, I'm in the wrong page. The 500 here looks a lot heavier than the 500 here, so I'm bumping it up to 600. All right, anyway, so that's it. So I got that done. Let's go back to my structure panel. Menus. Okay, here we go. This is about. So I got my heading in there. So let's get my menu item, my menu widget in there. So let's do Pro Menu. That's in there. And we're going to give this footer 1. And we are going to have this never turn into a hamburger. Okay, desktop menu, we want it to be vertical. And let's see something here. So it's all black text, and that's 15 also. So let's go typography, black. We're going to go to font weight of 600 and size 15. And let's space this out a little bit because it's a little tight in here. So let's see, item margin. We're just going to go on the bottom on this one, and we're going to give it 10 pixels. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's good enough. Now we want to get some space after this, and there's quite a bit of space there. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's lock this up. Let's go to margin bottom. Let's try margin bottom medium. Looks good to me. We're done. So that's it. That's done. So now what I can do is I can take this, I can duplicate it, and I can just drag it over into this div. Take this, duplicate it, and drag it over here. Okay, but I'm going to want to bring that around. So okay, it's thinking about it. So here we go. This is products. Let's get the menu below the heading. There we go. All right, so let's get the correct menu in here. Footer 2. And this one is called products, right? So let's just copy so I don't have to type. Copy, and let's get that in there. Okay, products. Now we're done. That's it. Let's get the next one done. Um, I mean, if I wanted to make this real simple, I could just go in here. But let's just copy it. Let's just do it this way. Duplicate it. It's not that big a deal. Get that down there. Let's get it in the right div. There it is. Now let's get this menu duplicated and move it down here. Whoops. Let's get it in there. Sometimes it's hard to find exactly. There we go. Oh, I missed it. Okay, give it a time. Give it a second to catch up. Sometimes it takes a minute to catch up here. Okay, so we got that in there. And let's see, this one is called what? Policies, right? Copy that. Come over here. Paste that in there. All right, so now this is going to get menu number 3. All right, so that's it. We're done with that. That was quick. Okay, so let's see. We got all that in there. And I could tuck this up there if I needed to. And let's see how we get that happening. So if we do margin on the top, and let's say if we do minus 20, maybe minus 40. Okay. I don't want to mess around with this too much. Let's just leave that at that. Okay, so that's good there. Let's see how this looks on the front end. There it is. That, just like that, doesn't it? Okay. All right. So next section is, okay, so let's do this real quick. So we're here, and we're going to stretch this. So now I have equal heights on all of my divs inside of my section here. Okay, so menus are done. So now we're in this social section over here, and this social section is going to have a header, a button, and social icons. All right, so let's move this over here for now. Okay, so let's get that header in there. That'll be our first thing. Header, and we're going to give it an H2, and that header is called, let's come over here, highlight this, and paste that in here. Okay, header is done. Sign up. Let's get this button in here. In my social section, now I can just drop a button in there. And let's get some margin below this. So let's do margin bottom. I think we can get away with medium, right? Yep, that looks about right. And this is called sign up. So where's my button text? Here it is. Sign up. Okay. Now we need to change this to black. Black. Now we need to get the radius on this button. It looks kind of like a little pill. So let's get that done. Borders, radius, let's try 50. All right. So a little tight. Let's just give it a little bit of padding around there. Size and spacing. Now, when I'm doing buttons and I'm adding padding into the buttons, I don't use rem, I don't use pixel, I use something EM. And the way I understand that is that if I change the size of the text inside there, the padding is going to change proportionally. I don't know exactly how it works. I watched a video on it a couple of months ago, and I've tested it. It works. It's good. And so again, it's another way of keeping things consistent. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this to M. And we're going to do 1M on this side, 1M on that side. Let's see what we can do with 2. 2 is a little big. 2 is a little big. But you know what? I kind of like having some extra room in there. So you know what? I'm going to do 1.5 on this side. I'm going to do 1.5. So I got a little more room, I think, but I think it looks better. So let's just leave it at that. So the text in there, let's get this down to text size. Let's get it to 15. Although, probably going to want to just keep that. I want the text to be a little bit bigger. inside of a button, because obviously you want somebody's attention. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that font weight. I'm still going to bump that up to 600. All right, got our button. Let's get our social share stuff in there now. So we'll come down here and over here, social icons. All right, let's get our button. Let's get a margin on the bottom of our button. Let's keep it consistent. So we're going to do margin bottom medium, although there's quite a bit of more space there. Let's do that. Let's go margin bottom. Where we got margin bottom XL. Should we see what XL looks like? It looks good. All right. Now we got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Let's do YouTube. YouTube.com. All right. And let's icon size. They're pretty small. So let's get it down to, that might be too small. Well, actually, it looks about right. All right. So icon color is black. And space between icons is quite a bit of space in there. So let's get it up to 50. And yeah, I think we're done. Icon size, let's try 25. Better. All right, so I don't have all the icons that they have in there. They got Pinterest. It looks like they got Pinterest. And this icon widget does not have Pinterest available. It's got LinkedIn. Let's put LinkedIn there. Okay, there we go. This icon widget is a little limited. I do have I have some add-ons that I use with my Oxygen Builder that it does include a social icon, and I could actually go in here and do this manually and just create the icon and add a link to it, and I could do that. Or I could use the other tool that I have that adds on to Oxygen that gives me a lot more control over the different icons and stuff like that. But for this sake, this is fine. This is going to work for now. But I can do that if I need to. All right, so we got our social icons done. So let's get this little button in here now. And we're almost done. Let's go. We're at 42 minutes. It's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. But like I said, with me stopping and explaining and giving little stories here and there, it's going to add some time to it. But it's still pretty fast. All right, so let's see. What are we going to do here? We're going to get that. Let's put a div. And let's get our social icons. Let's give our icons margin on the bottom. And the margin on the bottom is going to be extra large. And why isn't it pushing this down? See margin bottom extra large. Let's get rid of that. Margin bottom extra large. It's not working. Let's figure out why. So I got my div here, got this here. Let's just go in here and see what happens if I mess with it here like this. Yeah, it's not pushing it down. I'm not really sure why. Interesting. All right, but what I could do is, let's try this. Let's wrap this in a div. All right, now what I'll do is I'll come to this div, and I'll give that div a margin. Bottom, extra large, and that works. Okay. Sometimes these things behave unexpectedly, but it's always good to know, have a little workarounds. It's always good to know some workarounds and to make things work. It still works, still good, it looks good. That's all that matters. Okay, so let's see what we got in here. Okay, we got this this English thing again in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to rebuild that. I'm just going to go up to the top here, and I am going to copy this whole div. Okay, got it. And I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to go in here and paste it in. And I got it. I'm good. Let's go. So I got a div within a div. Don't really, let's see if I can pull it out of there. Yep, let's try. So let's delete this one. And let's go back to here. And let's give this a padding all around. Okay, so we're going to do padding. Let's do padding. Let's see how small it looks. Okay, that looks good to me. Now let's get that background in there. So remember how we're going to do that background? Don't have to think about it. What color do I want? Because I got it. And actually, it's light gray, so I don't got it. I need to have a little bit of a darker gray because we're already on that same light background. So let's delete that, and I'm going to create another class. Let's see, DBG, and we're going to call this medium gray. Okay, medium gray. Let's add that class to it. And now let's go to our background. Let's unlock the class because I want to edit this class now. So DBG medium gray, background. Give it that. It's a little dark, isn't it? Yeah. That's it. Okay, that's good enough. All right, and does that have a radius? It does have a radius. And let's see, do I have a radius class? Yeah, I do have radius class small. There we go. Let's lock up these classes again. All right, so we still got to add one more element in there because it has this little arrow in there, right? So let's do that. So we're in here. Let's add an icon. And our icon is going to be an arrow. Now, I don't have an arrow at that angle, so I'm going to have to make that angle happen. But that's easy enough. You can do that right here in Oxygen. Don't have to go anywhere. So let's go to linear icons and find an arrow. Here we go. It's not exactly the same arrow, but it is good enough for our purposes. So let's get this down to 35. Okay, so that's small enough. Let's go in here now and let's see what class do I have on there? Margin right extra small. Okay, so I'm going to do the same class on this now. And we're going to do margin right extra small. And now this, we're going to go over here and we're going to do effects. Is it no, not transition. It's transform, rotate 45. I want to do minus 45. There we go. All right. Not exactly right. That's close enough. And there we go. It's in there. We got it. Arrow could probably be a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, I think, you know what? I'm going to give this a little more space because if you see over here, we got a lot of space here in the middle. And easy way to do that is with my footer. And let's see, got social. All right, so because I have them spreading out like this, stretch, let's do space around like this. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to come into this one. And instead of being 50, I'm going to just go down, do it visually. We're down to 40. Over here, space around, and that works. Okay, I had to pause the video there for a second. My daughter came running into the office, wanted to tell me about her day at school. All right, so let's see. Where was I? I was doing this, getting this to be a little bit smaller. And I'm going to take this text. I want it to be flush left. So let's get in here, flush that text left. Let's go back here. And maybe I get this down a little bit even smaller. Let's see what it's look like over here. No, they got that on one line. So let's back up. Okay, so that's it. I think we're good to go. All right. All right. So now you can see how quickly it is and how we can keep things consistent throughout the whole site just by adding those classes and never having to think about, do I got the right size? Do I got the right color? Any of those things, because we know we do. And that's it. So that's how fast these things can be done. So hopefully that helps. And that's it. Thank you. I'll see you again.